Welcome back to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5 in the studio with my man Will.
Glad to be back.
Boards. Yeah, man, glad you're back. Turn me up a little bit. I can't hear myself. This is, like I said, the XL College Football Drive at 5 brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. Coming to you live from the David Venable Studios in downtown Hawkinsville. Just to let you guys know, next week is Thanksgiving, so we will not be having a show next weekend. You guys enjoy your Thanksgiving, and you can listen to our podcast on YouTube. And speaking of, go to xlsportsnetwork.net on YouTube and hit the like, the subscribe, and leave a comment. You can also listen to us live on xlsportsnetwork.net, xlsportsnetwork.net. The high school football season for Hawkinsville has come to an end. Hawkinsville lost out of the first round of the playoffs last week. Played a very good game, but came up just a little bit short. So we won't be on Friday nights, but you can listen to the Saturday morning quarterback show. We have this Saturday, I think, Ken, this is our last Saturday. So you guys listen to us from 9 to 12. We'll be interviewing 16 coaches around the state. That's the Saturday morning quarterback show brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. Right now, we're going to get to our show, talk about some things that's happened over the last week or so. Probably the biggest news out of college football is the firing of Jimbo Fisher from Texas A&M. Now, this life is just not fair. Well, it's just not fair. I think I've been doing my job a little bit longer than Jimbo Fisher's been doing his. I'm about to retire from my job and walk out honorably, and I'm not getting a $77.5 million to not do what I do like Jimbo Fisher. I said that right, folks. $77.5 million to not do. Look, just don't come back to the office. We're going to give you $77.5 million not to come back. And here's a breakdown of that. Within 60 days, Jimbo Fisher is going to, for Christmas basically, as a Christmas present, Texas A&M is going to give him a $20 million check. That's right, you heard it right, $20 million within the first 60 days of his firing. Then after that, it's almost like a Bobby Bonilla salary. He gets starting in March of 2024, he's going to get $7.2 million every year through March 2031. Now, I have broken that down. Let me just give you some for examples on this. It comes out to be like $19,000 something a day for the next 8 years. $19,000 and change per day for the next 8 years, plus the $20 million, plus the $45 million they've already given him since they hired him.
We need to call him to see if he'll sponsor us.
Yeah, I need to call him to see if he'll sponsor us. I don't know that I want him to sponsor me. Probably tank the whole thing. But anyway, Will, what are your thoughts on Jimbo Fisher?
I think this is probably about 2 years overdue. I've been talking about how he's not a good coach for a while now. I think that national championship he had at FSU, I think that was more due to the talent on the field than the coach on the sideline. But I tell you what, if Texas A&M was going to fire me and pay me how they paid him, I'd say the same thing Coach O said when he got fired. He said, when you want me to leave and what door you want me to go out of? Exactly. What, you pay me that much money? I'll go sit at home.
You can mail me my stuff out of my office.
Absolutely. Anything in there, I can replace it.
It's funny that he got fired. Not funny, it's in comical funny, guys. But it's kind of funny how we were just talking about this last week on the show about the inevitability of his firing. Didn't know if it was going to be this year or next, but we know the answer now. Moving along, guys, we're really we're going to be pressed for time here. I got a lot to talk about, so you guys can listen fast, all right? Because we're going to be hitting hard, and we're going to be going good. You ready? Here we go. All right, first one we're going to talk about, of course, the UGA Georgia Bulldogs and their dominant win over the Ole Miss Rebels. 611 yards of total offense for the Dogs. They had 8.6 yards per carry for the team. And, the most impressive thing about the entire night was Brock Bowers, man. Yeah, he only had 3 catches or whatever and a touchdown, but just the fact that 26 days after he had ankle surgery, and I've had ankle surgery, I know how it is. Now, I didn't have the same ankle surgery, but 26 days and to play at that level, it's just, the guy's a beast, man. He's just a beast.
Brock is Brock for sure. I think he's definitely one of the best players in the country. As far as that game, though, Georgia did whatever they wanted to do. If they wanted to run it, they run it. If they wanted to throw it, they threw it. They had 300 yards of rushing and passing. Ole Miss had 2 good drives. That was it.
Yeah.
And I think Georgia looked like the best team in the country. I mean, if you go back and look at it, I heard it during the broadcast, and I went back to verify to make sure, and best I can tell, it is accurate. Georgia had 0 plays of negative yardage in that football game.
They had 0 plays of negative yards. That is insane.
That's nuts.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Against the top 10. Well,
I think they are a phony top 10 team. I think they're top 15, but I don't think they're top 10.
College football playoffs started right now with 12. Would they be in? Probably would.
Maybe.
Their 2 losses are the 2 division champions. Speaking of, Georgia plays Alabama. If you haven't heard, and if you slipped on their rock, Georgia will be playing Alabama again this year for the SEC championship. So that's going to be exciting. Moving along to the next big game of the last weekend, Michigan at Penn State. We talked about this, Will, on the way in here. Michigan threw 8 passes all game for 60 yards. They threw no passes in the second half. And just to put that into perspective, both Army and Navy, and if you guys know anything about football, college football, both Army and Navy threw for more yards than Michigan did. Army and Navy, guys, are predominantly running teams. They normally throw the ball about 3 or 4 times a game, and that's only because they just ran about 17 run plays, and then the tight end slips out because nobody's going to cover him because they're thinking that they're getting ready to get run on, and all of a sudden he's open for a touchdown. So Army and Navy both threw for more yards than Michigan. That blows me away.
That's wild. I think first and foremost, it was a great defensive game. I think those are 2 of the best defenses in the country. I think the Big Ten probably has your top 5 defenses in the whole country. I think everyone else is kind of giving Michigan for, hey, good job running the ball 30 times in a row and just ending the game. I kind of have a different view on that. I don't think that was a great showing. I mean, it's not like Michigan was dominating and they just chewed clock to end the game. No, that was still very much a football game. At halftime, it was 14-9, should have been 14-10.
Yeah.
Penn State decided to go for 2 for some reason, I guess to try and make it a field goal game, but at that point, I don't know why you go for 2.
Do that. I didn't understand that either.
After halftime, Penn State fumbled. Michigan chewed 8 minutes and got a field goal. And, at that point, it's still a 1-possession game, 8 points. We had 3 straight Michigan punts. And then Penn State failed a 4th down attempt on their own 30. And then after that, Michigan scored a touchdown. So it's not like Michigan was just dominating in that second half. Like I said, 3 straight punts. And because Penn State decided to go for it on their own 30, that's how you ended up winning that football game. Again, I'm more impressed by what both defenses did than by what either offense did. That just proves to me and shows to me, hey, those 2 are 2 of the best defenses in the country, and somebody had to win that game.
Well, I tell you what, I'm looking forward to next week. I'll be in Michigan, the Michigan-Ohio State game. I wish the Will could join me. Some scheduling problems came up with things this year, so definitely a bucket list item. If you guys haven't done that, I'm gonna try to. Maybe we can do that again one of these days.
Sounds good.
We got some other things we're going to do. We're going to try to do a Wisconsin game. And during the week, we'll watch Wisconsin. That weekend, watch Green Bay. So we're looking at some things to do, some really cool things to do going forward. All right, let's talk about Miami and Florida State. Tyler Van Dyke came in at the end of the game because that freshman quarterback.
Emory Williams.
Yeah, Emory Williams got knocked out of the game.
Broke his arm or something, right?
Man, I'm telling you, it was bad. It was bad. And Tyler Van Dyke came in the first series and threw an interception in the game. So
there it is, attaboy.
Keon Coleman, and we were outside talking about this before we walked in the studio. I'm not sure there's a better. If there is, he's definitely on a short list, top 2 or 3 best transfer additions in the nation. I mean, I don't think Florida State's undefeated without Keon Coleman.
No, absolutely not. No chance.
No. Jordan Travis is great, but my goodness, he throws it in the vicinity of Keon Coleman, and Coleman, he's got a great catch radius, battles for balls. He's a first-round draft pick, I can tell you that.
100%.
Yeah. What you got? You wanna talk about that?
I don't know if it's impressive or unimpressive. How consistently FSU has proven they can play down to their competition. I haven't decided if it's unimpressive or actually really impressive. I mean, I get it. FSU Miami is a historically competitive rivalry game, but Miami's not very good. I mean, in the fourth quarter, it should not be a one-score game with Miami at home. There's no reason for that.
All right.
Emory Williams in his second ever start doesn't play very well. Then he gets hurt, and then Miami still has a chance to win the ball game at the end. They don't look bad by any means. I think they're the worst of the undefeateds. Well, I guess undefeated Power Fives. I think they'd take Liberty. Excuse me. No, but like I said, they've been playing down. They've been kind of half-stepping, but I do not think Florida's very good. But if they come half-stepping into that rivalry game in the Swamp in 2 weeks, they might not come out undefeated. I'm not predicting them to win, but at that point, I think Florida's going to be 5-6, fighting to make a bowl game.
Right, exactly.
And coming into the Swamp, they play much better at home than they do on the road.
Yeah. So. I think we went through this. Was it last year before last? Where didn't Florida have to have one win?
I believe it was last year, and Jordan Travis just lit them on fire.
Yeah. Anyway, I would love to see that. I'd love to see Florida State, shred those guys after Missouri beats them this coming week. Speaking of the Gators, they're going to be on the road. I'm sorry, they played LSU on the road this past week, and we'll take about a minute here and knock this out. But Jaden Daniels was insane. Will he had 372 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. 234 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns he was responsible for. That is, he was already a Heisman Trophy candidate. He's probably in the top 2 now. I really believe.
If he's lower than 3, throw your list away.
You're right. You're right.
I know the defense hasn't played well, but you can't blame him for that. He's had one of the best seasons. He may not be the best player in college football, but he may be having the best season this year in college football.
Yeah.
The only good thing I can say about Florida is they kept it interesting longer than I thought. They had a lead in the third, and then it was a 3-point game in the fourth. But like you said, Jaden Daniels, he had a Heisman performance. Over 600 total yards passing and rushing and 5 touchdowns. That's insane.
LSU gives up about 29 points a game. That's good for 97th in the nation. And points scored at 46 points a game. So that tells you.
And they need every one of them.
Yeah, exactly. They need every point they can get. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the XL College football Drive at 5, and brought to you by the Steakhouse in Hawkinsville. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the XL College Drive at 5 today, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. We're coming to you live from the David Venable Studios in downtown Hawkinsville. And we're talking about the recap of Week 11. And we'll move right along, Will. And we were in the middle of talking about some of the SEC games. And Tennessee at Missouri. Man, if you guys out there don't know who Cody Schrader is, you need to figure it out. Played really good a couple weeks ago against Georgia. Played great against against Tennessee. Running back for Missouri. Had 205 yards rushing, 116 yards receiving, and as you know, the SEC has been known for their great backs over the years. He's the first back ever to have those kind of numbers. 205 yards rushing, 116 yard receiving. Will, what do you think?
Well, I do not like to gloat or brag very often, but this is one of the games that I picked back in February or March. I try to do that every year, try to pick kind of a hot pick. Last year it was Vandy over Florida, and they pulled through for me. And this year, looking back in February and March, and you're like, Mizzou beating Tennessee doesn't sound like it's actually going to happen, but then Mizzou came out surprising. Mizzou's a really good football team. I think this may have been a little bit of payback for last year too. Tennessee really ran up the score in Neyland Stadium, and I think this was Drink getting a little bit of payback too. Like you said, Schrader's great. The most impressive thing for me though wasn't even the stats. It's his ability to understand time, score, situation type deal, because there was one play specifically. It was 2nd and 1, 8 seconds left in the first half. He gets the ball runs about 9-10 yards for the first down, and then he just falls down so they can get the clock stopped after a first down, call a timeout, kick a field goal. I think that was just a great high IQ play by Schrader. And again, I think he is probably the best running back in the SEC.
Yeah.
I've been saying all year Tennessee's not a good football team, and I don't think they're a good football team. And a little preview for what we're going to be talking about in a little bit. If Tennessee can't run the ball, they can't win. And Saturday, they could not run the ball because Joe Milton cannot carry that football team. He just can't do it.
Go back and look at the Florida game, and they can't stop the run either. So, that didn't build very well for them going forward. Couple things. Did you see the handshake after the game with Drink and Heupel?
We stand on business, Josh.
I love it.
Love it.
I love it. All right, moving right along. We're going to go to the couple of games outside the SEC. 2 more games we're going to talk about from this past week. Man, an absolute throttling in Orlando. The Cowboys of Oklahoma State go down and hang out with the 2017 national champions, UCF. I saw a picture from a guy that's in my church life group.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, he's a big Florida Gator fan, and his wife. He's an alumni of Florida, and his wife went to Oklahoma State. So they went down to Orlando to watch the game, and he took some pictures before the game. He took a picture of that banner. They
hilarious.
Actually do have a banner in the stadium, 2017 national champions.
That's hilarious.
It is hilarious. Anyway, I guess Oklahoma State had a letdown after the Bedlam game, and UCF had just rushed all over them. 293 yards rushing. They had more yards rushing did UCF than Oklahoma State did total yards. 277 total yards. Ken, what do you got?
Didn't they beat Gus Malzahn for that national championship of theirs?
Supposedly, and that's how I think how Gus may have gotten that job. Yeah,
funny.
They beat a beat up without Kerryon Johnson,
uninspired
team that had guys opt out of the Peach Bowl and whatever. That's ridiculous. Oklahoma State was 3 for 15 on 3rd and 4th downs. You're just not going to win any football games against anybody. No. So what you got?
I think it was the most shocking result of the weekend to me, just personally.
Not just them losing, but how they lost.
How bad it was. Yeah,
Terrible.
I mean, it may be one of the most shocking losses all year long. Like whenever you were texting us about it in the group chat, I looked down at halftime and it's did what 24-0, something like that. It was absurd.
Yeah.
I think last time I was on the air, I made a comment about people comparing Ollie Gordon to Barry Sanders. Glad we can finally shut that down.
Exactly.
Just because the stats say something's true doesn't mean it has to leave your mouth, because that's kind of foolish and you look stupid now that he put up 25 yards.
Yeah.
Glad the Barry Sanders talk is done. I may be a little more hurt about that because Barry Sanders is one of my best or my favorite players of all time in college.
There are similarities to Barry Sanders with him and Barry Sanders. They went to the same school.
That's about it. That's
and they
as
played
far
the same
as it
position.
goes.
That's
Yep.
it. There is no other comparison.
No, I think too. As far as them having a bad game, I think Alan Bowman finally played what he's capable of. Barely 50% completion and 3 picks. I think that's more what he's good at.
Yeah.
I think UCF just came out and they kicked him in the teeth and didn't stop. I think Oklahoma State these past few weeks has been playing over their head. They've been on the fortunate side of some turnovers recently. And like we said, Ollie Gordon was riding that hot streak. And, I think water finally found its level and they came crashing back down to earth. I did not and would not have expected a beatdown like that, but I'm not shocked they lost. It's the way they lost that is just mind-blowing.
Moving right along, last game we're going to talk about before we get into the preview of Week 12, USC and Oregon. One thing that shocked me, anytime you get those two together, I don't think the over and under is large enough. Although this week it was 77, and oddly enough, they did not meet the over and under. Final score in that game was 13 points shy of the over and under. Bo Nix, first quarter stat, he was 2 for 2, 161 yards. And 2 touchdowns.
Insane.
It is insane. Your man Bo Nix is now, according to FanDuel's and other Vegas odds makers, the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. So I almost said national championship, and he's pretty close to being one of the top quarterbacks to play for the national championship too. They are ranked number 6, and they're the top one-loss team in the nation. And don't be surprised, folks, if they win out and get in the playoff. Do not be surprised. Bo Nix in his 5th year as a starter in college. Got the COVID season. 2 years at 2 years at Auburn, 3 years at Oregon. Man, he's amazing. Final score of the game was 36-27. My calculations at 63. That's 14 points shy of 77. I'm sorry, 13 points shy of 77. What do you say? 14 points.
I have not been on the air because I was sick last week since they fired Alex Grinch. I'm not one for people to root for people to lose their jobs, but that was way overdue for Lincoln Riley especially. But man, this USC defense, it remains to be one of the worst ones I've ever seen. Constantly out of position, poor angles, sloppy tackling, all of it is just not good. And I think the final score of this game doesn't even show you how. I think it's not representative of what the game was. I mean, at one point it was 36-14. Ended up being a single-digit game. Oregon was never in. I guess worried about losing this game, because after 36-14, USC scores a touchdown, Oregon misses a field goal, and they just ran out the last 4 minutes of the game. I mean, they could have got to 50 if they wanted to. They just didn't. And USC, they're so close. They can do it. They're so close to finishing 7-5 because another one of the takes I had was they might start 6-0 and finish 7-5, and they're almost there.
You did say that. And I will say this: the new defense coordinator has made improvements. They were 124th coming into the game last week in the nation in points allowed. They moved up in that ranking to 123rd.
There we go, baby. Baby steps. Baby
spot.
steps.
They moved up one spot. So, all right. So that is the week in review from week 11, and we're going to jump into week 12.
Before we jump into week 12 and the next segment and more commercials, I just wanted to give a shout out to Nevin Chenette at Hawkinsville's Deal Market at 7 South Jackson Street, Hawkinsville, Georgia. You can follow them on Facebook. And come on down there. They're open from 12 to 4, Saturdays and Sundays. Me and my wife went down there last Sunday after church, and we racked up, that's for sure. We spent about $100, and we got about $900, $1,000 worth of stuff.
Wow.
And they carry a lot of nice name brands: Nikes, Adidas, Vera Bradley, True Religion, Carhartt, Wolverine, Ralph Lauren, Michael Kors, Champion, London Fog, Tommy Hilfiger, Martha Stewart. Now, mostly what I saw down there was women's stuff, but they do have a small section of men's stuff. They also have some housewares, linens, and some toys for the kids as well. So if you guys haven't been down there, they're going to be doing, you can't get a better deal. Like I said, we spent about $100 and got nearly $1,000 worth of stuff for Christmas. So if you haven't been down there, go ahead and check them out before Christmas, because you're going to get a good deal.
That's awesome. Yeah, he was in the studio with us last week. Great guy. So go out and support him. So we're going to go ahead and take a 2-minute break, and you are listening to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. See you in 2 minutes. Welcome back to the XL Sports Network College Drive at 5, and brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. Tune in to the XL Sports Network Saturday morning from 9 to 12, and we'll have the Steakhouse Restaurant Saturday morning quarterback show. We'll be interviewing 16 high school coaches around the state. In the last 30 minutes, we'll do a college football traveling with John Nelson from Georgia Public Broadcasting. And this will be our last Saturday doing the show. So you guys tune in and listen to that. We're going to do a preview of week 12 coming up, Will.
All right, let's do it.
A couple games. Almost say the best game for last.
Yeah.
And we'll start off with some Lizards. The Florida nasty, slimy swamp lizards are going to be on the road at Como, and they're playing those aforementioned Missouri Tigers, who are playing very well this year. Missouri, I think, is playing for a New Year's Day Six Bowl, and well, I think if they win out, I think they'll probably go to the Cotton Bowl or one of the New Year's Day Six Bowls. Florida's playing for bowl eligibility. They sit at 5 wins right now. They play Missouri this week, who's ranked number 11 in the AP. And where are they at in the
number 9?
Number 9 in the CFP. Right, top 10 team in the CFP. Florida's playing for their bowl eligibility, and anyway, we'll see what happens with that. By the way, Florida did lose a big commitment this week. Dublin's on Nazir Johnson, that his name? Yeah.
I believe so, yep.
Big defensive lineman, 6'5", 300, have been committed to Florida since, I think, July, and just flipped to University of Georgia. He's going to be a dog. I think he's going to be a good dog. So, but going on to the Missouri-Florida game, will give me your preview of that game.
I don't think Florida is very good. Surprise, surprise.
I love it.
And they don't play very well away from home. I know they tried to give LSU a run for a little bit last week, but I think Mizzou's got a much, much, much better defense. And like I said, Florida just, especially I think running the football, they don't do it as well away from home. And Mizzou, I mean, I don't think Florida has an answer for Schrader. I mean, Tennessee definitely didn't.
No.
And I think Cook's been playing really well too. I don't think this is going to be close. To be honest with you, I think Mizzou maybe win by 2 touchdowns. So I'm picking Mizzou to win the game and probably to cover 2.
Okay. Well, have you ever seen a cat play with a lizard?
I have.
It's funny to sit there and watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happened last week when the big cats from Death Valley played with those lizards. The big cats from Como are going to do the same thing this week. I think Missouri's going to win the game cover. So, your analysis about Schrader's right. I mean, to be honest with you, man, he ran pretty good against Georgia too.
Yeah. Georgia did not stop him by any means.
Yeah, I think he had 110 yards rushing against Georgia. So
something like that.
The guy's great. He's a great running back. And
oh yeah,
I think you're right. I think that Florida defense is just not going to be able to stop him. And Brady Cook, I think, is probably going to do whatever he wants to, with the ball too. So we'll see. So I will pick Missouri at home to beat Florida and cover. Moving along to Clemson hosting the North Carolina Tar Heels. Clemson 6-4, North Carolina 8-2. Over and under 58. Clemson is a touchdown favorite, actually a 7.5 point favorite. I was kind of surprised to see that, but then again, not really, because I just think Drake Mays had a really disappointing season. He's disappointed me. I picked North Carolina in our family pick thing, so hoping that he would win the Heisman this year, and I would get some bonus points in that. That's not going to happen. So we'll see what happens with it. I think that 7.5 point favorite for Clemson. I think North Carolina's going to beat the spread on this. I think they'll probably. I don't know that there'll be enough. That they'll score enough to get to the points. So I think the under on the over and under, and I think they will beat the spread. I think Clemson may eke it out by a field goal at the end, but I think 7.5 points is a little too much. What do you think?
You kind of touched on it, and I'll die on this hill. I think Drake May's overrated. I don't think he's a great quarterback. He's good for sure, but I don't think he's great. I don't even think he's the best player on their offense. I think their running back is. Omarion Hampton is amazing. He has slowly worked his way, at least for me, into the conversation for the best running back in the country. Without him, they have way more than 2 losses. Excuse me. He's been the engine that makes that offense go, because when they can't throw the ball very well, and before they got Tez Walker playing, he was carrying that offense for stretches of football games. And I mean, UNC, their defense is still bad. I mean, they struggled with Grayson Loftus and a Duke team that I was super high on, but they've really just fallen apart. And when you storm the field after beating a Duke team that's in shambles, I don't think you're in a very good spot. Clemson has remembered that they are Clemson the past 2 weeks. I mean, that's a good win against Notre Dame, and they really dominated Georgia Tech. I mean, that game was a 3-touchdown victory, and a lot of that was just like, I think it was 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So at one point it was like 42-7 against Tech.
Georgia Tech's not a bad team.
They're not a bad offense. Their defense is abysmal. That's why UNC and Georgia Tech scored over almost 100 points total. Clemson has also forced 7 turnovers in the past 2 weeks, 6 interceptions. They're rolling. They're looking like the Clemson team that I expected them to be all year and haven't been. It's been disappointing, but they're rolling, and that UNC defense is still trash. I'm going to pick Clemson to win, and I think they'll cover too.
They'll cover, okay.
I sure do. At home in Death Valley, like I said, they've been playing well at home the past 2 weeks. I think they're going to win and cover.
Okay. Staying in the ACC, Miami hosts Louisville. Louisville is a top 10 team in the college football playoff ranking and in the AP. And Miami is a 1-point favorite. Over and under 47.5 is what I'm
Wild
showing.
right now.
Yeah, Miami lost the starting quarterback from last week, Emory Williams. He had a really bad arm injury. This week, Tyler Van Dyke, from what I read, and some of you guys out here around this Middle Georgia area, South Georgia area, may remember this name, Ja'Cory Brown. Corey Brown is out of Lowndes County, and he is competing for the starting job. Have not heard who's going to be the starting quarterback this week, but Tyler Van Dyke, like I said earlier, came in and threw an interception. Now, I'll be honest with you, before the season, I thought Tyler Van Dyke was one of the better quarterbacks coming back this year. I guess hadn't had really a good year.
He fooled me last year, so I wasn't going to get fooled again.
Yeah. Well, Corey Brown is a great ball player. He's a dual threat quarterback, so we'll see. I'm sure he'll probably play a little bit against Louisville. I think that, man, being a 1-point favorite at home is a 2-point dog in a neutral site. I think that Louisville, they've not had a really tough schedule this year, but, I mean, they've done what they're supposed to do. They're 9-1 right now. I think they're going to get into Miami. They're going to go to Coral Gables, and I think they'll win the game. 47 over and under. I think we'll probably go over that mark a little bit. I think Louisville's going to score quite a bit. I think Miami over. So I'm thinking the final score will be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 31-28, something like that. So that's my take on the game. What do you got?
Wow, I don't think Miami's putting up 28 on this Louisville defense. I don't expect a close game. I don't know why Miami's a 1-point favorite. I think a lot of that is a recency bias of, they hung with Florida State for most of the game last week, and Louisville struggled against Virginia. But one thing I've noticed looking back at their schedule, Louisville, they've had a couple of bad games, but they've never had them back-to-back. So whenever they do struggle a little bit, they always bounce back. Louisville has a great defense. I mean, it is a top 10 defense in the country, and it's going to be the best defense Miami has played. Yes, better than Florida State. Just look at the numbers. Yes, Louisville has a better defense than FSU. And I think the only shot that Miami has, they do have a pretty good rush defense. So if they can slow down Jawar Jordan, they might have a shot. But Louisville being a 1-point dog at Miami is baffling to me, and I think Louisville's going to light them up. They're a top 10 team in the country, and they deserve it. They are very, very good. I don't think it's going to be close. Just me personally, I think Louisville will win by several scores.
Okay, interesting. All right, going to move along to Michigan Wolverines at Maryland. Maryland, start off the season. I think they were 5-0 at one time before they played Ohio State. They were looking really good. Looked really good the first half of Ohio State. I thought they had Ohio State. I thought they had them on the rings there for a little while, and then the second half happened, and it seems like their season has kind of gone downhill since then, have the Terrapins. We're a 21-point Michigan was a 21-point favorite. Now it's showing 19 points and over and under 50. Man, what is Michigan going to do? I mean, are they still going to try to run the game? Is this a trap game for them? I mean, they're looking forward to next week. That. I mean, people say what they want. Kids, 18 to 23-year-old kids are going to sit here and go, man, this is Maryland. We're getting ready for the big showdown in the big house. Trap game, I think so. 19 points, 21, whatever, 20. Favorite, I think that's probably a little too much at this point. I think Michigan's going to win the game. They're going to pull it out late. I think it's going to probably be somewhere in maybe halfway through the fourth quarter. They're going to open up maybe 2-touchdown lead. I think they'll win by maybe 14, 18 points. I don't think that they'll beat the spread, and I think that over and under. I'm going to go with the over on that. So Maryland with the points, Michigan win the game, and the over.
So I was looking at Maryland in their early season success when I was picking between them and Penn State a couple weeks ago because I don't know if audience knows this, but every week I pick the winners of all the FBS games that are going on. Just a personal thing for myself. I enjoy doing it. It's fun. It's a challenge, and it gets tiring about week 9, week 10. So you got to stay committed. But it's something I do every week. So I was doing kind of a deep dive into Maryland's early season. They did start 5-0. Here are their 5 wins. You ready? They beat Towson, Charlotte, Virginia, Michigan State, and Indiana.
Charlotte and Virginia about the same rate.
I am not sure that Maryland was ever a good football team. They started 5-0, and I don't think they were ever very good, because after that they did give Ohio State some problems until halftime. Then they lost to Illinois. They lost to Northwestern. They got the snot beat out of them by Penn State, and then they just barely beat Nebraska. I don't think, and I'm not convinced, Maryland is or ever was a good football team.
Yeah. Ken?
Yeah, I don't think Maryland was ever a good football team. If you look through the years.
Lucas, if your mic's on, take your mic's off.
Testing 1 2.
Okay, I can hear you now.
All right. Well, I don't think that Maryland was a good team. I don't think they've ever been a good team. And if you look through the records through the years, it looks like for the past many years they have come out and they've won their first 5 games, and then they just fall apart every single year. Look back at the records.
Maybe cupcake schedule to begin the season. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, the only chance Maryland has in this football game is Michigan's got a lot going on off the field.
Yep.
I mean, they've got this everything going on with Jim Harbaugh. I believe I heard today he just accepted the suspension, and that the Big Ten's basically going to drop it after this. So the NCAA can come down with something else, but I think the Big Ten's dropping it. They have Ohio State next week at home, and then I don't know if anybody knows this, but this is the opportunity for Michigan to have 1,000 wins. And I don't think anybody else in
they are
FBS or college football has 1,000 wins.
They lead college football with wins. But, I mean, they started when right after the Civil War.
Understood, but still, it's a big milestone. Like I said, there's unless all the off-field drama just makes Michigan self-destruct, there's no chance they lose this football game. Yeah. The line you said moved down to 19. I was going to take the over at 20 or whatever. So I think Michigan's going to win, and they're going to win by at least 3 touchdowns.
Over number 50.
Michigan might cover it by themselves. I don't think Maryland's a very good football team.
Okay.
I just don't.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you on the over. All right, staying in the Big Ten, we're going to say Rutgers at Penn State. I'm going to tell you something now. Rutgers not a bad football team. I think Penn State, they just fired their offensive coordinator, and they are a 19.5-point favorite at home. We see they can lose football games at home. Over and under 43.5. I'm going to pick Penn State to win the game. I think they're going to bounce back from that loss to Michigan because they look really bad, especially in front of the home crowd. They're going to bounce back from that. I think they'll probably cover the 19.5. I think they won by 3 touchdowns. Over and under 43. I think they'll probably go over on that.
As we know, Penn State beats teams who aren't Michigan and Ohio State. That's just how they roll. So the past 2 weeks, Rutgers has lost to 2 really good defenses. And, for all their offensive woes, Penn State does have an elite defense. I expect them to bounce back, especially at home. I don't know if they'll cover. It's close to 3 touchdowns, 20 points. I don't know if they'll cover 20 points just because Rutgers does have a good defense, and there may be some backdoor cover in there. But I do think Penn State's going to win, and they may cover, but I'm not predicting that. But
okay.
Penn State definitely bounces back and gets a big win here.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break, 2-minute break. You listen to the XL Sports Network College Football Drive at 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. See you in 2 minutes.
Only the best music.
For over 50 years, the Steakhouse Restaurant has been a tradition in Hawkinsville, just like the great tradition of the Hawkinsville Red Devils and their 6 state championships in football. Louis Fowler and the staff at the Steakhouse Restaurant invite you to stop by for the daily lunch buffet and the special Thursday night buffet, and don't forget the $8.99 daily specials. Go by and see Louis Fowler and the staff at the Steakhouse Restaurant on the Highway 341 bypass on top of the hill in Hawkinsville. Go Red Devils!
experience is changing in our community, and Central Georgia Technical College is your college for what's next. Dual enrollment and the Dual Achievement Program offer new paths out of high school to earn diplomas, certificates, and degrees. Club football, on-campus health clinics, and loft-style housing are taking off. It's a work, school, and life balance like never before. Affordable education, transferable courses, and career satisfaction. Warner Robins, Macon, Milledgeville, and more. Simply put, CGTC is your college for our community. Apply today. Visit www.centralgatech.edu.
I walk the mean streets of Atlanta in a police uniform. That gives me an important perspective most lawyers can't give you. If you find yourself in a tough situation leading to an arrest, remember, your best bet for a good defense is to remain completely respectful but quiet. I can't stress that enough. And call me as soon as you possibly can. I'm David Venable. Call me.
The big city lawyer with small town charm. David Venable, attorney at law. Broad Street, Hawkinsville. Call 478-783-2825.
Are you looking for great custom-cut meats like fresh beef, pork, chicken, and great seafood? How about a place that specializes in fresh and smoked sausage made in-house? It's Harris Country Meats and Grocery. They also offer a full line of deli with smoked brisket, roast beef, barbecue, plus much, much more. Harris Country Meats also offers hunting and fishing supplies, plus a full garden center. That's Harris Country Meats and Grocery, family owned and operated since 1943. Call 478-783-3276 or see them at 66 Cochran Highway in Hawkinsville.
Welcome back to XL Sports Network College Football Drive 5, brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville. Check us out on our YouTube channel, XL Sports Network. That's XL Sports Network on the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe and leave a comment. You can also listen to us on the xlsportsnetwork.net. Click the listen live anywhere on there. And let's talk about a few more games here in the last segment. This is the, I guess we'll call this our overtime period. We are getting close to the end here. Illinois at Iowa. Over and under in this one's going to be 31.5. You know, Iowa just, it's funny. They are 3-point favorites. They can clinch a spot in the Big 12, in the Big 10 championship, then clinch the Big 12 with a win this week.
Sure can.
Which is very, very strange to say when, they can't score any points offensively. They have fired the coach's son, who was their offensive coordinator.
I think that was probably addition by subtraction there, though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can't do much subtraction from them offensively. But,
no, you cannot.
But I think that Illinois was one of my teams I picked early on the season. Last year they had a great defense. So I think, maybe this week 31.5, maybe a little too much on the over and under. 3 points. I mean, that's what a 16-13 game, something like that. 17-14. Somewhere around there, yeah, something like that. That's probably pretty accurate. We mentioned last week. I don't know if you were able to tune in last week. You weren't here. Iowa played Northwestern last week at Wrigley Field.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they scored 17 points combined.
Yep.
The Cubs in the 2023 baseball season.
I saw that.
The Cubs and whoever they were playing at the time outscored that number 9 times.
Yeah, I saw that. That's real bad.
I know we're talking about two different sports, folks, but it's a lot harder to score in baseball than it is in football, points-wise.
Especially 18 points. Yeah, that's tough.
Exactly. So anyway, I'm going to go with Iowa in this game. I think they will win the game. 3 points is a small spread for most teams. It's a large spread for Iowa. I still think they'll cover that. Over and under 31.5. I think somehow they'll get the over on this game. Illinois might help them out a little bit, but what do you say?
I say that it's wild that picking the over at 32 is a hot take.
Yeah, exactly.
How Iowa's number 16 in the CFP, I'll never know. We talked about this coming in. There's number 16 in the CFP, and they are unranked in the AP poll. That is wild to me.
It is wild.
But despite that anemic offense, their defense is once again elite, not just good, they are elite. I think I heard they lost Cooper DeJean for the year, which is a big loss for them because he's one of the best players in college football. If you're not familiar, get familiar. He's really, really good. But the good news is I think Iowa's defense can outscore Illinois by themselves. So I'm going to go with Iowa, and I think I'll take them to cover too. Why not? It's only 3 points there at home. Illinois is not very good. They got Luke Altmaier back, which I don't know is a good thing for them, but I'm going to roll with Iowa to win the game.
What if Iowa had USC's offense and
they're not losing a football game.
Because offensively, Iowa's 123rd in the country.
Yeah, that's not good.
They're number 3 in the country points allowed.
Yep.
You take the USC number 2 points scored, or somewhere in there, number 123. It's almost completely reverse of what USC looks like right now.
Yeah,
that's insane. Really, you look at it. Yeah, it's hard to imagine the two different perspectives those two teams are right now. All right, moving along, we're going to go to the Big 12. Texas is going to go to Ames, Iowa, and play the Cyclones, Iowa State Cyclones. Texas is a 7.5 point favorite. Quinn Ewers is back, so that shouldn't be a hot take there. However, they did lose Jonathan Brooks for the season. Upset alert? Could this be?
You asking me?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you take
going first.
Yeah,
all right.
Go first.
I'll bury the lead. Go for it. Yes, I'm picking the Cyclones to win this football game. Jonathan Brooks was the difference last week against TCU, and now he's not playing. Iowa State is better than TCU,
absolutely.
and Ames is a
No
tough
doubt.
place to play football.
Yes, it is.
I don't know how his absence is going to affect Ewers in that offense. I don't know if Ewers is back to 100% from his injury. I would hope he is if he's out there, but I'm gonna roll with the Cyclones to win the football game.
I know that Texas has some great receivers out there that can call separation. You can throw the ball up, and you know as well as I do, everybody here listening to this who are Georgia fans know that you throw the ball in the vicinity of A.D. Mitchell in a big game, and he's going to catch that football.
For sure.
So I think that might be the difference in the game. Quinn Ewers is very talented. He's not the number one player coming out of high school when he came out for no reason. He is definitely a talented quarterback, got great arm talent. Is he back 100%? I don't know, but I still think he's got the weapons around him and the talent to do some special things. Jonathan Brooks was a special running back, man. I hate that he has got knocked out. Really hate that. Over and under 47. I'm gonna pick the over. I think they're gonna go over that mark. 7.5. I think Texas wins the game. 7.5 is really close, man. I mean that's kind of tight. I'm gonna have to pick Iowa to cover the spread, Texas to win the game by a field goal, and over on the points.
All right.
Let's move along. In the great state of Kansas, Kansas State on the road to Kansas. Over and under is 56.5. Kansas is actually favored by 8.
That is bonkers to me.
Yeah. So I'll let you take this one.
I'll keep it brief. I think all year long, Kansas State is and has been the better football team. Kansas just lost to Texas Tech at home. I don't know where the heck that came from, but Texas Tech is one of the worst teams in the conference. We talked about this. Kansas State is 2 different field goals away from being a top 10 team. You know, if they don't let Mizzou walk it off on a 61-yarder and they do make a field goal against Texas, I mean, that's 2 of their losses down right there, and I think they're probably a top 10 team right now if those 2 plays don't go against them. I think they're, like I said, a very good football team, and I think they're going to go in and win this game. I have no clue why Kansas is a 9.5 point favorite as I look at it right now. I don't know. I think that's ESPN bet, so it may be a little different, but no, I think Kansas State's definitely the better football team, and I'm picking them to win this one.
Yeah, I'm showing 8 point, 9.5, whatever. I'm with you, and I do not understand why Kansas is
8
the
to 9.
favorite.
8 to 9 is wild.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I'm going to pick Kansas State, if nothing else, to beat the spread. I think they're going to actually win the game outright. 56.5 is a lot to me. I want to have to go with the under on that. Now, let's just say it's 8 points. Well, whatever. 8, let's just say it's 8 points. You get 3 points being at home.
Mm-hmm.
On the neutral side, is Kansas 5 points better than Kansas State?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That's
either.
just me. I just
don't think so.
No.
Yeah. So I think that I think Kansas State will win this football game, and again, I'm gonna go under on the point spread, or on the over and under. All right, here's a good one. Washington on the road in Corvallis playing against the Beavers of Oregon State. Been a very interesting look on this game. Actually, Oregon State's the favorite in this game. I'm showing 2.5. I'm not sure what you're showing.
I got 1 right here.
Okay, so less than a field goal.
But Oregon's the favorite. Oregon State's the favorite.
Oregon State's favorite is correct. 63.5 is over and under. I think the Oregon State defense is legit. I think they got a decent defense out there. I don't know how much they can slow down Michael Penix though. I'm gonna pick the over in the points. 63.5 is.
I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah, and as far as I think Washington's 5 in the country, undefeated for a reason, and I really think they're going to go to Corvallis. They're going to come out with a win on this game.
Oh, yeah, Washington's one of my teams. I've been high on them all year. My boy Michael Penix is still looking good to win the Heisman. I think this is going to be the game of the week. I don't think there's very many great games on, but this is probably the best one.
Yep.
Oregon State's playing well. You know, they have a good defense. They run the ball pretty well. And Corvallis is an extremely difficult place to go play. I think it's really underrated in terms of a home field advantage. But we're talking about trying to slow down Michael Penix and Roma Dunze. I mean, Utah has a defense. They couldn't do it. Oregon couldn't do it. I know both those games were at home for Washington, but I still believe, they're going to get to close to 40 points. And I think I trust Penix when it comes down to it. I trust him to show up and play well because I think Joel Klatt said it and made a good point. When Washington needs it, they get it. And surprisingly, sometimes that's their defense making stops they need to make too. So I'm picking Washington winning Corvallis.
Okay. And the point spread is now 1.5, so I'm definitely going to pick that. And also the over and under 62.5, so I'm picking over. A couple more games, and we'll get to the Georgia game. And we got about 3.5 minutes left, 4 minutes left. So right quick, Utah on the road to Arizona. Arizona has quietly moved up in the rankings. They've done pretty good this year. 7-3. Utah is also, I think, 7-3. Arizona is actually a 1-point favorite over and under 45. I'm going to pick the 45. That's tough. That's pretty good right there. I'm going to pick the under. Utah's offense is, I don't know if they can get to it, but I do think Utah's going to win that football game. So,
yeah, I'll make it brief. I think Utah's a better team. I think they're going to win the game. Make it easy.
Okay. All right, you want to talk? Let's talk quickly about USC and UCLA.
Let's do it.
I'll let you go on that one.
I don't know that there's a whole lot to talk about here. If UCLA gets a good quarterback play, they're going to probably win. They have a good running game, a great defense, and USC, I think they're going to get points no matter what. I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think it's just going to come down to UCLA cannot score enough points to win. So, unfortunately, very begrudgingly, I'm going to pick USC to win the game.
Well, UCLA is 14th in the country in rushing, and USC is 127th in the country in yards allowed. So I think that's going to be a difference. I think UCLA is going to win the football game. All right, let's get to the Georgia-Tennessee game. Georgia 10.5-point favorites, 59 over and under. I'm going to pick the over. I'm going to pick Georgia to beat the spread. They're on a 37-game regular season winning streak. They're on a 27-game overall win streak. It's been 712 days since Georgia's lost a football game. And listen to this, Tennessee has not scored. He's only scored one second half touchdown in their last 4 SEC games.
Wow.
They might score one this weekend in the second half, but it's going to be because Georgia put their freshman in about 8 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter.
I think that's very likely. I think it comes down to two things. One, Tennessee is a very penalized football team. They're the most penalized team in the SEC, one of the most penalized teams in the country. A home field advantage might help some of that with some procedure penalties and all that, but who knows? Maybe we'll see. On the flip side, Georgia's very disciplined. They're top 10 in fewest penalties per game. And I don't see that changing this week. They're great at nonverbal communication on offense and defense. They do a very good job of that. And the game's going to come down to running the football, like we talked about earlier. If Tennessee can run, they're going to have some success, but it's not just run. They have to outgain their opponents. So I'll make it brief. In their wins this year, Tennessee outgains their opponents by 180 yards on the ground. That's 260 yards gained. In their losses, they've been outgained by 80 yards. It's 105 yards gained versus 192 yards given up on the ground. I'll ask you, which one of those sounds more like what Georgia's going to do?
Okay. We don't.
Yeah. So, if you look at it, most of their success rushing, as far as their touchdowns go, has come against bad teams. They have 5 in the conference and 12 in their non-conference. They didn't have a tough non-conference schedule either. They have 0 rushing touchdowns against ranked opponents and 17 against unranked opponents.
And they've not been able to stop the rush against Kentucky, against Florida. Florida ran all over them.
And
all over them.
that's the point I was making. You know, if they can't run the ball and also can't stop it, they have no shot.
That's right. Right quick before we go, we got just a few seconds left here in the show. Georgia is in the top 10 in virtually every offensive category.
Almost every stat.
Almost
period.
every stat, yeah. And Tennessee is not close on much of anything. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the XL College Drive at 5. Appreciate you guys listening to us. Again, next week we will be not having the show because of Thanksgiving. You guys go out and visit the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville on Thanksgiving Day and get yourself a feast. If you miss it on Thursday, then you can go on Sundays. Really appreciate you guys listening to us. Have a great week. Happy Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you next time.
For over 50 years, the Steakhouse Restaurant has been a tradition in Hawkinsville, just like the great tradition of the Hawkinsville Red Devils and their 6 state championships in football. Lewis Fowler and the staff at the Steakhouse Restaurant invite you to stop by for the daily lunch buffet and the special Thursday night buffet, and don't forget the $8.99 daily specials. Go by and see Lewis Fowler and the staff at the Steakhouse Restaurant on the Highway 341 bypass on top of the hill in Hawkinsville. Go Red Devils!